This is the Roundtable Talk podcast, brought to you in part by Raeford Guns, the Hoke County edition of the North State Journal, the LIBRE Initiative of North Carolina, and our flagship station, WCLN Christian 105.7. And now here are your hosts, Ruben Castellon and Chris Holland.
All right. Welcome to episode 161 of Roundtable Talk Podcast. I'm Ruben Castellon.
And I'm Chris Holland.
So who you want to go first, or should I go first?
So, with a lot of stuff going on in the state legislature, they just overrode four vetoes that were vetoed by the governor last year. Three of them have to deal with DEI in education. Basically, the laws now, because the veto was overridden, state that education systems cannot have DEI education programs, i.e., and some of
to hire.
From K through the university system, can't hire DEI directors, can't have DEI offices, supervisors, that kind of stuff, and some of the criteria that describes DEI is language that says that one group is inherently racist based on their skin color. One of them that I didn't know until I read it, it was kind of interesting, is that the United States, part of DEI, preaches or teaches that the United States is not governed by the rule of law, that laws are made by groups, divided by color, as a power struggle between races in the United States, that, laws are implemented to subvert somebody, to, hinder progress for somebody. And I'm like, I had never heard that as described as DEI, but that's just, could you imagine teaching a third grader that, hey, because of the color of your skin, laws are there to hurt you.
Or make you better.
Or to make you better, right?
Yeah.
To give you an advantage because, you're a white kid or whatever. So, that's just, I'm glad to see it. The fourth veto that they overrode, now state law, that law enforcement has to cooperate with ICE. They have to honor detainers. They have to notify ICE when they have somebody that's here in the country illegally. So basically, it does away with the sanctuary city policies. I know that Charlotte, Mecklenburg County was really big, and they've been in the news the last 5 or 6 years about their policies and their refusal to cooperate with ICE. So that's kind of put a kibosh on that. So now it's state law. Every law enforcement agency has to cooperate with ICE and has to, honor detainers and report people that are here in the country illegally. Some of the current stuff that's going on is the legislature just passed a property tax bill. So we all know, even here in Hoke County, property evaluations have gone through the roof. I think our last evaluation went up like 12%, 14% or something like that, year over year. And so what this does is there are certain counties that just did last year, they did a reevaluation. And so for the 2026-2027 tax year, these counties, there's 12 of them, and I'll read them. I think it's Bladen, Chowan, let me read them real quick. It doesn't apply to us, unfortunately, but Anson, Bladen, Buncombe, Chowan, Clay, Davison, Guilford, Harnett, Oslo, Pamlico, Pender, and Scotland. So, Scotland County is in our district. Garland Pierce did vote for this bill, and basically what it does is it stays the property evaluation to last year, the year before, so they can't use this recent evaluation to charge taxes or bill you for that property evaluation in 26-27 tax year. So that's just some of the other stuff. They're trying to look at the affordability. That's a big talk, and that's even at the national level. People talking about.
Well, you know what? Let me interrupt you for a second, Chris. That's another talking point that is related to DEI. If you think about it,
affordability.
Okay. But what people don't understand is that taxes really affect those that work,
Right.
and those that live out of the system, they don't have to worry about that. So that, to me, that's a very, very frustrating thing, because I'm like many veterans that I know and many other professionals that I also know, and not just veterans. I worked all my life. I was looking. I was looking at my Social Security. Yeah, I was looking at, and I didn't know. I'm gonna veer off a little bit to hammer the point, but I say, when people say, "Well, I've been working all of my life," I learned lately is that for you to be able to withdraw your full amount of Social Security, whether you cheat yourself at 62 or 67 or 70, whatever the case is depending on when you were born. You have to have put a total of 35 years into the Social Security system,
Right.
paid into
Your credits.
your credits, to be able to withdraw the full amount. I mean, you can still draw, but in order for you to get the entitled benefit of what you're entitled to, is 35 years of work. And I was looking at my stuff. And I went back. I said, "Dear God, I've been working for over 45 years."
Yeah. Yeah, I pulled up mine recently too. And my first legal job where they actually took out Social Security was in 1985. I was 14 years old.
I was 82.
Yeah, and I was like, man, 14, I was legally employed. I mean, before that, I worked on a farm and worked for farmers doing stuff in the summertime and stuff like that. But my first legal job, I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And I've had a job ever since.
But anyways, going back to the taxes, unfortunately, I mean, I chose to live in Hoke County. I'm gonna tell you, I enjoy living in Hoke County. I love living in Hoke County. I have a lot of associates that I deal with in Hoke County. I mean, that doesn't mean I don't know people in Scotland County, Robeson County, Cumberland, but I live in Hoke County. I made my basically after 1996. I've been here in Hoke County, and it's very frustrating. If I knew back then what I know today, I'm gonna tell you this right now, I would have never settled in Hoke County, only because of one reason. Because unless Hoke County can get an infrastructure going on to where we are open to big businesses like Cumberland County,
Right.
Cumberland County doesn't need to tax the homeowners that much, because they have, I mean, it's an example. They have I don't even know how many Walmart supercenters Cumberland has. It just seems like almost every other mile there's a Walmart.
There's a bunch of them.
But going back to the taxes, they have to continue to raise the value of our homes to maintain the government system going on, because as more people live in Hoke County, the government has to grow to be able to provide a service, whether it's public safety, whatever the case may be. And but going back to, as an example, to DEI, to me, I came in the Army when it was all you can be. I don't know if when you came in. I don't remember when we got rid of that slogan. I think we're back to it again.
Yeah, it's back to it.
They should have never changed it.
Right. I mean, because that's the premise of being in the Army is, we give you the opportunity, the skills, and the training to be the best that you can be, and you have an opportunity and a choice whether you're going to fully take advantage of it or not. So.
That's right. So in the Army, of course, Obama started this hot mess. It started with recognizing that, because my daughter said this, I think it's unfair for same-sex people not to get married. That started the hot mess, and then it really the military took a major hit under the Biden-Harris administration. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I did all I could be when I was in the Army. Only person that ever stopped me from doing something was me. No black man, no white man, no Chinese, no nothing. It was me, because Everything you earned in the Army was based on your performance,
Right.
not based on the color of your skin, whether you had an accent from New York or Southern. It was what you could bring to the table to make the mission accomplish. And so I think Heck said, Peter Heck said, it's, I think he's doing a good job. Got rid of all that stuff that really takes away from the main mission.
The focus of the mission,
Yeah,
right?
focus of the mission. So I'm glad that the General Assembly, the GOP has the majority to where we can veto this crazy stuff. When this man can't even say what's a woman, and you got women that voted
for
this governor.
Yeah.
And then later on, they complain because there's a man in my private area. But you voted for the people that support this crazy stuff.
Well, and back in the '90s, and I think we've talked about this before. There's always been a loud voice for the gay community, right? Recognizing rights and stuff like that ever since the '70s, but really ramped up in the '90s. But in the '90s, the gay community was trying to distance themselves from the trans movement.
Yeah, that's right.
They said,
well, they still are, really.
They still are, but they're like, these people are going to demand the same rights, but they are. It's a sickness, it's a mental illness,
and that's a fact
for the most part. And so that's where we're at. It's kind of come full circle. By giving trans rights here and there, it's a slippery slope, and it always has been. And now we're talking about, I think that the trans movement is so anti-feminist and so anti-woman. You know what I mean? To say that
they want to abolish women.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
To the definition of a woman, right?
Yeah.
Just like, what was her name? Jackson Brown, Supreme Court. During her nomination, that she was like, define a woman. Well, I'm not a biologist.
I'm not a biologist.
Like,
what the guy that asked that question, she said, well, what are you?
Yeah, well, what are you?
What are you?
Right. Yeah, and that's what, like I said, that's my fear, is that, we honor women. We appreciate women, what they bring to, the community, what they bring to, us. However, this movement has trying to erase that. It's trying to erase women as their singular, group. And it's trying to say that we're all just one. It's just how you feel that day, or whatever hormones you take, or however you dress, that decides your sexuality or your sex, your gender. And I think that's very unfair. And that's why I fight against it, because, we need to protect women. We need to help them, stay above,
especially the ones that are fighting for it.
And all the stuff they've earned.
I don't care too much. One of the things that I realized that I've seen in short videos or those that are out there, especially protesting ICE, they have a common denominator.
Yeah.
Okay. And don't take this the wrong way. Okay. But if the shoe fits, it fits. Okay. Most of them are white, single, looser, obese women. Most of them.
Yeah.
And you can identify them very easy because the color of their hair. It's a dead giveaway. But those are the women. Those are the women that are pro for trans. And why is that? Because they can't do what other women can do. They can't. You don't see, as an example, men that are mentally ill that want to proclaim that they're women will fight tooth and nail to get into that women's private space. But you don't see women that are mentally ill, they claim to be men, fighting to get into men's sports or into the wrestling.
Right.
They're not fighting. Why is that? Because they know that is not a safe location for them.
Right.
It just not. So that's what DEI is all about. It's about protecting the confused, protecting somebody that just because of the color of your skin, and you are not capable of doing a job, we're going to give you the job anyways because you meet this criteria. Meanwhile, we actually prejudice against an individual that is qualified to do the job, but we're not going to hire you because you're not the right color.
You mean a certain different demographic,
Yeah,
or you
yeah,
don't?
and so
right?
I'm glad North Carolina's on the. It's not because of the governor. It would have been really. I think that it probably would have secured his second term had he not vetoed the DEI, because while there is not a lot of people vocally saying that they're against this because they're afraid of being banned from
Labeled or-
Facebook and
right.
everything, the majority votes against this.
Yeah, I think so too. And talking about safety for women, I was reading something, and there's a city council actually had to step in and bar a domestic violence shelter, women's domestic violence
Yeah,
shelter, from
because they want to
allowing
penetrate that too.
from allowing trans individuals into the
But
shelter.
not just any trans, specifically men,
Right, men and
mentally
women.
confused men.
Yeah.
Not women
Right.
that are claiming to be men. We're talking about men.
Men who, yeah.
Biological
Men who wear
males.
dresses.
I never thought the time will come. I think I said this before. I never thought the time will come when I have to say biological female, biological woman.
Right,
Because
you would
back
just say
then
women.
it wasn't that long ago that no one was confused about what a woman was and what a man is.
Yeah, if you just said girl, female, woman, she, whatever,
we know
you knew what it was.
We know what it
wasn't-
is,
yeah.
and it's so sad because today you got there's some of these actors that or singers that stand up and they get blasted because they stand on truth. And who was it? 50 Cent. 50 Cent. 50 cents.
50 cents.
He's a rapper.
$50.
Very famous rapper. He's he's a character in movies too and all that
Okay.
stuff. And so this guy's getting bombarded right now because he said that if you're a man, a biological man, and you're dating a transgender woman, which is a confused mentally man thinking he's a woman, you are gay.
You're gay. That's it.
And he's
That's
getting
it, yeah.
flashback of that, but that's the
That's
truth.
the truth, right? Yeah. I saw something
That's
on
crazy.
Facebook. I commented to this person one time on Facebook, and I think that's what it was. It was a woman that claimed to be a man, but was dating another woman. And I'm like, well, then you're a lesbian.
Yeah, you're
No,
a
I'm not.
yeah.
I'm a man.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. You're a gay female. You're a gay. You're a lesbian. That's all there is to it.
And it's so sad, and that goes back again to the biggest thing that I've always wanted. That was one of the things I fought for when I was campaigning, is getting rid of DEI. There's no room anywhere, whether it's private or public, any room to bend the rules to be able to allow mentally ill people access to things that they're not entitled to according to Title IX.
Right.
Because Title IX is an example, is the one that protects women. Equal protection. What people don't understand, that Title IX was equal protection for women. What that means is that you are not allowing women play soccer with women on women back in them old days, but we want that same entitlement. Men can play soccer. We want to play soccer with women too. And
Right.
that's what it was about. It was never really about equal. Like, I'm a trash man. I want to be a trash man. It was never about that. It was about the woman being able to have access to the stuff that back then they were not entitled to.
Right.
Like playing sports and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that was it. That's why we have women's leagues.
That's
why
right.
we have women's conferences.
That's
because
right.
it's for women. Because when they're battling against men physically, and not saying every woman, there'll be those out there that say, "Oh well, she can do this and that." Well, sure, there are.
I mean, there are
some
exceptions. There are exceptions.
But by writ large, the female population can't do physically the same thing that men do. So anyway, and this is my opinion about the whole gay marriage. We started off with that, right? And it's a very unpopular opinion, especially being a Republican. But I think the government shouldn't recognize marriage anyway.
At all.
Because
it's a civil matter.
It's a civil matter, right? And I understand the tax code, the premise of, a marriage, not deduction. Yeah, marriage deduction. Entitlements, being married, that you pay less taxes, blah, 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 whatever. That's to encourage families. That's to encourage married couples and stuff like that. However, I think that as far as taxes, if you're living with somebody, married, unmarried, whatever, you both should be, taxed at the single rate. And then, like me and my wife, we would pay, $38,000 or whatever it is for two single people, cut out the benefit of the marriage tax wise. And then there would be no argument, because I mean, that's the biggest driver of, let's recognize gay people, health benefits and taxes. You know what I mean? And everything can be accomplished, do away with the marriage, advantage. And then there's already systems in place, living wills, medical directives, medical power of attorneys. All of that stuff is already in place that we, as married people, just take for granted. But more and more, it's becoming where me as a spouse, me and my wife, we have to sign documents to say, yes, I'm going to give them authorization to see my medical records, make decisions. So, I mean, like I said, the systems are already in place, and then just get the government out of marriage, period. And then marriage goes back to what it traditionally was, and I say traditionally, early times, 1700s, 1600s, stuff like that. It's just an institution between a couple and God, right? That's what marriage is,
I'm gonna tell
foundations.
You, this is not going to be a very popular opinion, but this is my opinion. This is where the church failed. Because it used to be where the church, or a pastor, a preacher, a bishop, all these different denominations. That's right. It was a couple and a priest or a bishop or whatever. And then it was all about this. It was about money. Because for you to get a license to get married, you got to pay. I know that because I got married.
Well, you had to do it, right?
I had to pay, I don't know, $75, I think, to get the license.
Marriage license.
And that was one of the things I've always had issues, that the church should have stand firm and said, nah, this is a civil matter. This is between. And then of course they came back, well, what about the people that don't believe in the church, and they don't believe in God? You still have a remedy. You can, I don't know, Mr. Producer, you can correct me if I'm wrong or not, but I'm gonna tell you this right now. I never heard a church turning down, except for the Catholic Church, you gotta be Catholic, a church, a preacher, whatever, turning down a couple from getting married because they're not members of the church.
Yeah, I don't know.
I could be wrong, but I never heard. I never heard of that.
Yeah, if somebody comes to a religious figure, a pastor, preacher, whatever, and says, hey, we want to be married. Now, I mean, each church and each individual sure has their own criteria. Hey, I want to be able to talk to y'all, sit down and discuss this or that or whatever. That's across different churches. It's different.
I'm pretty sure. Like, I know the Catholic Church,
but to refuse
you got to
them,
be a Catholic to be able to get married through.
I married a Catholic, and I know I had to. I had
so
to go to some classes. I had to go to classes, and I'm like, come on, guys, really, But anyway, but yeah, if two atheists came to a preacher and said, hey, we would like to be, married. But then again, that goes back to the same thing where, it's all about the taxes. Does it take a pastor to be legally married for an atheist, right? Maybe they moon gods or whatever, and they have their own little ceremony.
Well, look at Texas.
And so if the civil's perspective, they're married. They're a married couple. They present as a married couple, right? And if the government has no say in that, or has no advantage or any kind of, regulations to cover
the agencies, entities that were pushing against this agenda in the Supreme Court did a lousy job at articulating. Those traditionalists that were for marriages between a man and a woman didn't stand up and say, you know what, get rid of the tax exemption.
Right.
Get rid of this, because really we don't need it. You can take away all my taxes from being married with my wife. I'm still going to be okay.
Right, exactly.
I'm still going to be okay.
And that's the thing too, like we said, in society, if two men present as a couple or as married, you know, in North Carolina, I don't think you can do gay marriage. I don't know if that's legal or not.
Yes, you can.
But so it is recognized in North Carolina.
In North Carolina, but it's not. Whoever's going to perform the wedding, if there is one, they can decline, obviously, but they can definitely go to the courthouse.
Okay, civil. The judge,
you know, somebody
the
that's willing
magistrate
to.
or whatever.
I could be wrong, but instead of North Carolina, nobody can be forced to marry somebody, including a church.
Right.
Specifically a church.
Right. Yeah. But what I was going to say was, you know, just that. If the government didn't have anything to do with it, if it was just strictly civil, then you get married, you have your ceremony, whatever that is, whether it's religious, whether it's, you know, a barbecue and a kegger, you know, that's whatever your marriage is, whatever your ceremony is, and then you present as a couple. I don't think a lot of society would have a problem with that.
No.
You know, it's like, hey, Bob and John, hey, you know, whatever, man and wife, man and man, whatever y'all are. Society writ large doesn't have a problem with that. I think that
it was a big scam. It was a big scam because I tell you what, I mean, we all seen these. We all seen men living with men. In my lifetime, I seen them. You can recognize that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against you. You whatever you want to do in your private life, go at it.
Yeah.
You know, to each his own. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, marriage is between a man and a woman. And I say, let me tell you this: two men being in a contract to live together, because it's not a marriage. Two men living in a contract, living together, they have no fruitful outcome. They can't multiply. They can't multiply.
So, you know, there's this big push, and it's been going on since the 60s or 70s about depopulation of the world. That, you know,
what a way to do it.
We're basically, you know, birthing ourselves out of resources. And so, yeah, is that part of the agenda?
Yeah, of course.
Get everybody, you know, recognize these gay people. There's no more kids.
Yeah.
And then, so anyway, I don't know. It's sticky, but like I said, I think that the government has caused the problem.
Well,
you know, but and
the parties
too. Remember, so when I joined the Army, you know, if you were homosexual, you couldn't join. You couldn't.
Well, if you were homosexual, if you were an open homosexual,
well, no,
but we had them. We had them.
Well, right. If you were openly, if it was known,
if they, I don't remember 1982 when I joined. I don't remember if they asked me. Maybe because I didn't look like one.
Yeah,
but I don't remember anybody ever asking me, "Do you like men or you're homosexual?" I don't ever remember that. But when I was in the Army, especially in Panama, I had an encounter with one when I was a private, an E7 that approached me inappropriately. Really, I was terrified. I never had that experience before.
Yeah.
And so the Army,
especially the
then,
rank structure too.
The Army back then, I already had them, but they were not open.
Right.
That's why they.
Well, that was my point. Was, you know, when I joined, it was prohibited. If they knew about it, they would kick you out.
Yeah.
And then when Clinton came in to office, they changed it to don't ask,
don't tell.
Which, you know what? I'm fine with that. You do whatever you do at your house.
Yeah.
I do what I do at my house, and just as long as you don't, you know, demand that I accept what you're doing.
And that's the problem.
Favorable.
That's the problem with going back to DEI. That's the problem. In DEI, you are forced to have to acknowledge someone's delusional life.
Right. And recognize their untreated mental illness.
That's exactly what it is. So
all right. Well, we got like 1 minute. So
the last thing I want to talk about, and we sort of briefly know about this already. It's been a few years back. If you guys can remember during COVID, Guilford County, a public school district over there, there was a young boy, 14 years old, was tested for COVID, and in the same process, he was forced to take a COVID shot. And of course, when their parents found out, they sued. The lower court dismissed the lawsuit, and then it just got turned back to the lower court by the North Carolina State of Appeals Court, and basically saying that they have to relook at this again because there was two basically two things. One, obviously, the school district was being sued because they didn't ask consent from the parents. Think about this. This is a 14-year-old kid. We're not talking about 18-year-olds, because you got 18-year-old kids that are still in school.
Right.
We're talking about a 14-year-old kid. And of course, he was probably coerced into taking the shot because he wanted to play the sports. Okay, so the other thing, the other part of the lawsuit was the parents were suing the company that administered the COVID shot. And they were trying to say that, hey, they had nothing to do with it. They were under the direction, and the bottom line was that the North Carolina
Court of Appeals
Court of Appeals said no. Yeah, the lawsuit can go on because you were a paid actor. You weren't doing this for free.
Yeah, you were an agent of the state.
Yeah, so you can also get sued. So it's going to go back to the lower court, and I'm going to be interested in to find out what's going to happen, because they're going to have to revisit that, and I suspect that what's going to happen is they're going to have to they're going to have a trial.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested. So the parents' Bill of Rights wasn't law during that
time. Back then it wasn't.
So I wonder if that retroactive, or because of the laws at the time, that decreases some of the
well, you know what,
authority of the parent.
You'd be surprised to find this out. Okay, I was heavily involved in the Parents' Bill of Rights, as you know this, because the Hoke County School District really did a phenomenal job in updating the policies involving with that. Got rid of all that stuff. But I'm going to tell you this. You'd be surprised. An informed parent would know this, okay? Policies were already in place to where a school district just can't do whatever they want to do with the child. You still have to ask consent. As an example, the most basic stuff. Before the school district can photograph a child up to the age of 17 years, 364
a legal
days,
adult.
You have to have consent by the parent, okay? But if you don't know this, you just don't know. But you always have policies in place. But when you don't know the policy,
they can do what they want to do.
So anyways.
All right. Well, so I just wanted to make an announcement real quick. On July 2nd is the America 250 Hometown Parade. We're going to have a float.
Who's sponsoring that?
That is the
downtown Raeford?
the city of Raeford.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the second.
That is the second.
That's
the parade. Yep, it's Thursday. Starts at 5:30. Goes through Main Street. We'll have a parade. We'll have a float. We'll have some candidates and people and local members of the Republican Party on the float. We got some pretty nice decorations, some pretty good Americana stuff going on. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And then right now, I have in the works on August 22nd, we're going to have a candidate Q&A meet and greet in place of our August meeting. I'm looking to have Dave Bullitt down here as our keynote speaker. There's a lot of
state auditor.
The state auditor. There's a lot of stuff going on around the state and here in Hoke County with the auditor's office. So hopefully we'll have some resolutions, some information to put out by then. He thinks we will, but have him come down and speak on that. And then, of course, all the candidates, Richard Hudson, Ralph Carter, Stephanie and David, and just have them down there and have a night of, talking to your local candidates.
That's great.
All right.
Anyways, thank you very much for viewing us. Don't forget to like, click,
share,
make a comment. Make a comment. Again, if you want us to cover a topic, don't hesitate to contact us. And also don't forget to view our YouTube channel. Until next time, I'm Ruben Castellon.
And Chris Holland. Have a good afternoon.
Getting to the facts across the state, around the world, and at home in Raeford, North Carolina. The Roundtable Talk Podcast. Brought to you in part by Raeford Guns, the Hoke County edition of the North State Journal, the LIBRE Initiative of North Carolina, and our flagship station, WCLN Christian 105.7. Be sure to like, share, and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. The Roundtable Talk Podcast.